Welcome back to the Pursuit of Freedom podcast. This is episode 43, and don't forget, this is part 2 of a 2-part episode. So please go back to last week's episode if you haven't listened to it already, because this conversation is picking up from where that episode ended. Katie will be talking to us in more detail about what her business actually is and the story behind it, and the biggest lessons she has learnt on her entrepreneurial journey so far. There are so many golden nuggets in here, guys. Enjoy. G'day and welcome to the Pursuit of Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Rosie Burrows, and I'm on a journey to find my freedom so that I can help you do exactly the same. Join me each week as I share the stories of everyday people who have found their own paths to freedom. I'm not going to focus on job titles and accolades because I don't care about that stuff, and neither should you. I want to uncover what truly makes you tick. Who are you when you step away from society's expectations and follow your heart? I still haven't figured it out yet. Have you? Either way, buckle up because it's going to be one hell of a ride. Can you share with our listeners the story behind your business and actually what it is? Because my interpretation is it kind of was born from this love affair with Italy.
Yeah. So I studied abroad in college. I studied abroad for 3 months in Florence. It was a town above Florence called Fiesole. So my passion started there, and little did I not remember, because I did know. Little did I not remember is the fact that my grandmother was born in Italy. She was born in a small town in Emilia-Romagna in that region, but I just never thought about it. I never thought that oh, my grandmother's Italian, because she doesn't speak Italian. She never spoke Italian. So yeah, I studied abroad, and I kept feeling that there was something about when I was living there, and I was only there for 3 months, mind you, so it was really a short period of time, but I loved it so much that I couldn't stop talking about it. So I think a key thing for anybody that's not sure if they are sure about what their path is, if you can't stop talking about it, that is the key.
That's a good sign.
You should be doing it or pursuing it in some form.
Yeah.
So my business came from that love and that passion and that yearning to be somewhere that's not my home. Even though my second home, I feel at home there. I moved abroad permanently as a UK citizen before the Brexit, because during that time the UK was part of the European Union. So it was easier for me to become an English citizen or a UK citizen to be a resident in Florence than it was for me to be an American citizen. Because an American citizen has to do a process called permesso di soggiorno, which is like a visa program, but it's a whole shit show and it's totally out of whack. So this was an easier route. And I became a resident within 3 months of living there. Wow. So just because I got British citizenship through my mother. She was born there. Long story. Anyway, so I moved abroad in 2009, and I started teaching English. And that was the only way for me to sustain myself and make money, pay my rent and stuff. So I did that for 4.5 years, and then within those 4.5 years, I met my husband. Not planning on it, but met my husband. Fell in love. La la la. And before I met him, I had always been brainstorming this idea of I want to bring people here, but I want to do it authentically. And I want to do it in a way where I am supporting local businesses and I'm supporting families and I'm supporting the artisans, the crafts that are going away, So it was born out of that. I had thought this idea up with my friend Pasquale, who's my little guru man, and he's fabulous. And from there, I couldn't do anything when I was living there because I didn't have any money. I couldn't barely run my blog. It was a whole thing. So when my husband decided he wanted to try living here, we moved abroad in 2013, moved abroad, moved back here. And we've been here ever since. So I've been here 10 years. He's successfully been promoted to a new job recently. I'm very proud of him. So now, from 2013 until now, I've been slowly trying to build this business. And in 2019, I started my business. I started an LLC, started my website. I have shifted from doing just yoga retreats to then during the pandemic deciding, okay, do I really just want to teach yoga? Not really. I can teach it. I don't really want that to be my focus. And I'll tell you why I chose yoga retreats is because who doesn't want to do a yoga retreat nowadays? Everybody does yoga retreats. There's so many yoga retreats all over the world. So that was like thinking that I should do it that way. I was shooting on myself. And then during the pandemic, I had like a light bulb go off and like, hey, just fucking talk about Italy. Just do Italy retreats. That's what you love. And then in 2021, I started my blog, Florence and Me. And I talk about my journey through that blog and then highlights places that I like and other types of travel tips and stuff like that. And that from there, now we're here, 2024. I have successfully done one retreat and I'm going to be doing 2 more this year. 2 separate times. One in May, which is the yoga retreat that I believe will be my last one. But I'm not teaching the yoga. But if my friend Melissa would like to do another yoga retreat, we're going to plan it better because I learned from my mistakes. There's a lot of mistakes I made doing that. So and we both realized it. Me and her had a conversation, and she's like, "Oh my God, yes, we need to do it this way." So, and then the one in September is going to be at the same villa I did in 2022. So, yeah. So yeah, that's like my business. So we visit like, family run places. We do wine tastings, cooking classes, but we do one thing a day. So there's no rushing. There's no getting up at 5 a.m. because we have to get a train at 6. Like, we're not doing that. We're really relaxed the whole week. So it's week-long retreat. Yeah.
It sounds amazing. Yeah. People aren't going to get that on, I don't know the name of tour companies other than Kentucky Tours, but they're not going to get that on a Kentucky tour, right?
Yeah.
You're about having the authentic experience. Yeah. It's not about going to all the tourist hotspots. And that sounds like exactly the sort of travel I like to do. But it's difficult for someone like me when you don't know the country. Totally. So being able to pay an expert like you to show you all those amazing places and help you have those experiences, I think that's priceless.
Totally. And I think I think people are afraid to do it that way, like do it authentically, because they follow the fold, which is get on a big tour bus and go to 5 different places in a day and like sleep in a hotel for 2 nights and then go to a different hotel the next 2 nights. Like, I think that's like something that people just see and they're like, oh, that's what I should do because that's what everybody does. I understand that there's some people out there that maybe have never traveled abroad anywhere in the world. And they're just like, I just need to get it all done for this one trip. Like, right. and there are people that still do it. But then in the end, if you think about it, which I talk about this a lot on my podcast, like if you decide that I want to do 10 days in Italy and I want to go to basically the north and south of the most popular cities in Italy, you get home. I will swear, I will swear on some sort of religious thing. I don't have anything here, but I will swear on it and tell you that I'm sure you are going to go back to your pictures, to your phone and be like, where the fuck was this? Why did I take a picture of a statue? Where is this? I have no idea. So then in the end, it's like, goes right back to presence. You weren't present. You were just listening to the little headphones with the tour guide talking to you and telling you like, oh, this was, Caesar and blah, 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 or whatever. And I think, it's fine if that's what you, as a traveler, like, I am going because so-and-so signed me up, or I'm going because I'm 75 and I don't think I'm going to be going again. Fine. But my focus is for you, even if you are, maybe this is going to be your only time, but I want to take you to the best places. You're going to be meeting my friends. You're going to be feeling comforted, like taken care of. I mean, not luxury style. There's no butlers or massage therapists, but like, you'll be taken care of in the sense that I'm going to show you places and people and experiences and food and wine and things that you will never see out of a guidebook or a big tour bus, because they're not going to be able to fit into these places because small places.
Right.
These are small family-run places where, like I was talking about Gianluca before. Gianluca has a tiny house. He can only host 4 people, and he's in an ancient borgo in Chianti, like that is picturesque beyond belief. I should send you a picture. It's so beautiful that you want to experience it with the less amount of people as possible, so that you can really feel that you're there. Instead of just being like taking pictures and being like, I don't know where the fuck I just was. Was I in Pompeii or Sorrento? I don't know. Like,
like ticking things off a list. What's
totally.
that about?
Totally. So I think that there's pros and cons to both types of experiences. Like going through a tour bus, a pro is just like, yeah, you get it done. You see everything that you set out to see. It was on your bucket list. That's fine. But a con is like, again, like I said, you're not going to remember that meal in Naples or that meal in Amalfi because you were drunk, or like, I mean, God forbid, like, you couldn't finish it because you were so stuffed from lunch, or like, but and there's also pros and cons with my experience. A pro is the fact that, like, all these things I said, you're going to be doing authentic things. You're going to be talking to actual Italians. I'm going to be speaking Italian for you. Like, some of these people don't speak Italian. I can help you with that. You're not going to be having a guide trying to like understand, like trying to explain things to you in broken Italian, broken English, because their English isn't very well, good. A con could be for me, like coming on my trip, is like you're nervous. You're like, I've never done this. I'm scared. I'm fearful. I don't know who else is going on this retreat. Maybe you are a solo traveler, and that's okay. And I think that's like the biggest part of my life that I remember being so proud of myself, was the fact that I moved abroad to live in Florence on my own. I was scared out of my mind. I was hopeful, but I was scared because I did not know if I was going to make it. If I was going to be able to make a living, and I was going to, pay the rent and do all the things that I haven't done before on my own. So I think there's ways that you can take those of you that are solo travelers and maybe are thinking about doing something like my retreats, like, think about it in a different way. Like, be so proud of yourself that you're like, I'm going to buy a ticket. I'm going to fly across the ocean, whatever ocean it is. And I'm going to go to this remote place in Tuscany and just let go of the fear, let go of the reins of control and like desperation of like, where the fuck are we going? I don't know. I want to know. And let Katie just do it. Let Katie drive you around, because you don't have to know what street we need to turn on. You don't have to know any of that. Like, you can just relax, look out the window, and just look at what's driving by. Like, what are we driving by? These beautiful hills, these olive trees, these gorgeous cypress trees. Like, be present. And yeah.
Yeah. I'm just, like, it sounds so good. One of the things I find really stressful, I like to plan my holidays before I go. And I'm trying to find these experiences that are a bit off the beaten track. And then you're trying to have it all fit within your budget. And there's only so much you can do. Like, it is stressful. Yeah. But if I could pay someone like you, that's the hard part of travel for me. I just make you all do it. And I know it's going to be authentic and great, and I can be present. Like, that to me is the perfect balance. Like, I still get to enjoy my holiday, but no stress of planning things and trying to figure it out and make an itinerary. And if you're traveling with other people, are they going to like it? And blah, 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 blah. Or is it safe for me to go on my own?
No, totally. And I think that there's like, it's such a hard thing for someone like me, being small business and being not out there. Like, I'm not publicized like a lot of other tour companies. So it's hard to find people like us if you're looking for an authentic experience in any place in the world. Like, you got to know somebody. Like, it's a word of mouth type of thing. Right. Or you got to find, listen to a podcast and be like, oh, okay. I think I'm going to reach out to her, or I'm going to, look at her website, see if I can,
Yeah.
I jive with her or not. So I think there's like, it's when you are thinking of something that you want to be present, you want to be all in an authentic space, you want to experience the people, you want to do whatever that, if that's your type of travel, that is a hard avenue and a hard niche to find because there's not a lot of travel companies that focus on that because they focus on the big bulk things that going to make them more money and like that they don't work with local companies. They work with bigger companies. So that's also, it's a hard, I can imagine like, it's hard to like plan something like that if you have no connection with anything else.
Oh, for sure.
Like, yeah. And especially in Australia. Australia's huge. I would imagine like even if I wanted to go to Australia, I would have such a hard time probably finding the right people to connect with because I don't know anything about Australia apart from like I love koalas and kangaroos. Like I had a koala bear when I was a kid. Like I love I know koalas are not nice. I don't think kangaroos are either. But still, I believe them to be part of my spirit animal family. So like I don't know, I just always I would have loved would love in the future to come to Australia and just see a koala and a kangaroo. I don't need to touch them, but I don't want to bother them.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I mean, you can go to a zoo where they're tame and you can cuddle the koala and have your photo and feed the kangaroos.
Soft, aren't they? Aren't they so soft? Have you ever touched one?
They really are.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. You should Google what sound a koala makes. They sound like a monster. It is the weirdest sound. It's so strange. I'm not going to try to imitate it. That's just embarrassing.
So glad I didn't know that as a child because I probably want to like koalas. Like if they were looking at me. Oh my God.
So yeah, you can have that kind of more touristy experience, which I still think's fun, going to the zoo and seeing them. But seeing a koala in the wild and kangaroos in the wild, it's magical. It really is. Oh so
also,
magical.
I love to see the Great Barrier Reef too.
You know what's outrageous? I've lived here most of my life. There was only 5 years I wasn't in Australia. I even lived near the Great Barrier Reef in Cairns, and I have never been.
Does it cost a lot?
I don't think it's that crazy. Like, it's not the cheapest thing, but there's different options and more affordable ones, and I've just never been.
Because I know that it's like, well, as all like natural places are dying, like I want to see it before it disappears.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I was going to say I think I should. Nuh-uh. I would like to go and see it, right? I think I would really enjoy that. I love being in nature, so maybe that's something I could do this year.
That could be on a list, like things you just want to experience. Not a goal, not like one of those check-off things, but just like something I want to experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah.
So those are the three things I'd like to see. I mean, I'd like to, I'll meet you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Not just animals.
Come for an adventure in the van.
Maybe just meeting animals. She doesn't want to see any people. Like,
Yeah. No, I can relate to that.
Yeah, I mean, I met a lot of Australians when I lived in Florence. There are a lot of Australians living there when I was living there. So I always
we get around.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Let's go back to business for a bit because I think it can be tough. And a lot of people who listen to this podcast, they're wanting something different. And it often involves trying your own things, starting a business. So can you share with us what are some of the big lessons you've learned and maybe some of the challenges?
Well, the first one is definitely that you can't do it all on your own. I have had a lot of, at the beginning of my journey, I've had a lot of volunteer help. There's this company in the States that kind of partnered me up with like a guy that worked in the travel world, and he just does this as he volunteers. He's retired, whatever.
Right.
And he gave me a lot of good advice. So I think asking for help and also seeking feedback is good, even if it does hurt and if it does irk you. Like, when you ask for feedback and you're like, somebody like tells you, well, I wonder if you could do it this way, and like blah blah blah. Like, I think wonder is better than saying like you should. Like, I wonder
Yeah.
if you tried at this angle. Like, I like when people like I trust and I work with and my mentors say like, hey, I wonder if you would try to, instead of doing it this way, do it this way. I wonder what it would look like. And that at least makes me feel like, huh, okay, maybe I should give it a try. So yeah, I mean, seeking help, asking for assistance, and I would say don't ask family, because family is always going to tell you don't do it. It's a risk. You're wasting your money. Blah blah blah, whatever. Because it happened to me at the beginning. My parents weren't really keen on it, and they're still somewhat. They're keen. They're not, as they're better now. Anyway, but I think another one is, I guess, not jump the gun in buying certain types of software. When we talked about that earlier, when you don't have any money, like maybe you have money, but it's like, I don't really need Candly because nobody's booking appointments with me, but I bought it anyway because I thought, well, I have it, so I look professional and like whatever.
Yeah, I use a free calendar solution.
Yeah, I mean, I think exactly. I think the less you put money into your business at the beginning, or look around and do the comparing game. You have friends that have their businesses and stuff. Like, you don't need all the things to make you a legitimate business. Like, the other one that was really big at the beginning too for me was like a lot of the people I was like being mentored with and stuff, like, if you don't have your website ready, it's totally fine. Don't worry about getting your website to look perfect. Just do it. Like, if it's where it is, let it be. Don't keep adding to it. And what did I do? I kept adding to it. So my first website was a shit show because it was literally like a million pages long, because I just kept writing and writing. I had all these stories and stuff like that. And then I hired somebody. This was the best decision I made. I hired an all-woman marketing website design team in Canada, and they rocked my brand font, my logo, my website. So that was a win for me. That money paid for itself. Like, I website's amazing. I love it. And I still talk to those girls still because they're just amazing. I think it's also important, even when you get feedback. And again, I think I touched on this earlier. It was like, if you get feedback or you get advice or anything like that, like, don't make it be the end all be all. Like, that's what you have to do. Because I did have a kind of a coach consultant who was based in San Francisco. And she was helpful. She was helping with my budget and did like amazing things for me. But there were certain things that I was like, she never told me like what I should and should not do. But she was always just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah. And like kind of give me a little bit of advice. But then I'm like, okay, I'm not really feeling this. So I don't regret having her, because I did pay her a bit. But like, I did in the end, when I think back, I'm like, she wasn't very good. Like, she was and she wasn't. Because she was helpful with the money stuff, because she liked creating budgets and stuff, but she wasn't helpful in the mentoring part, which I think that was like not something that I was hiring her for necessarily, but she just became like a sounding board. So then I was like, I was using her as that. Anyway, so I think, okay, so yeah, asking for help. When you do ask for help, don't necessarily take it to heart and take it that's your path.
Yes.
Like, listen to it. And if it's something that resonates with you, take it as what it is, or let it go. And and then also just don't buy all these software programs that
you don't need all the fancy
you don't
shit.
need any of it. If you're doing something online, I think that there's so many free things that you can do where you can work slowly towards purchasing a software for XYZ. But like, I just bought a CRM last year, like for my collecting my contacts. It's helpful with like
Yeah.
contracts and then invoicing and all that other stuff for my retreats because I was sick of using Google Docs. So like, it's like a pain.
Yeah. So prioritize what you need and what's going to make the most difference.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what I pay for. Well, Riverside, what I
Yeah.
record on, I pay for because I care about the quality of my recordings. But initially I started with the free version. And then I outgrew that because I just have so many guests now. I use a free calendar solution. It's not Calendly, which everybody recommends. It's called Simply Meet. And the free version lets you have unlimited calendars.
Nice.
It's great. Like, that's what you would have booked in a time for me. Like, it doesn't look as fancy, but it does the job. It's great. I'll be starting an online community for women. Hopefully by the time this goes live, it'll be launched. I will be using a free solution. I'm not going to pay for Thinkific or this or that. I might down the line, but I can just change the platform. Like, I don't have to put in all this money because I haven't got the cash flow right now. And I don't think paying all this money for fancy software is actually going to make much of a difference. Like, I think of other businesses. I take my dog to training. These guys don't have a website. They've just got a Facebook page. Where they do the training is underneath their house. They rent it. The landlords are awful, so don't repair anything. Like, the door looks like cardboard. It's deteriorating from the rain. Like, it's just, it's so basic, but the value they deliver is outstanding.
And that
so
wouldn't have been,
you don't need the fancy
and it wouldn't
shit.
have been conveyed to you if you went there without knowing like how they are, right? Because you would have seen there, but you know of the value. It doesn't matter what they look like or the place or the door or whatever. And I think that's something that's a really other amazing lesson. I agree. Like, I think that there's like a lot to be said about, you know, the value of what somebody gives you doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have XYZ, all your ducks in a row, and, you know, an amazing, you know, setup van. Like, you don't need to have that setup van. Like, you can just like, you're happy with what it is. And actually, anybody that, I don't know if you do you do interviews in your van or no?
Most of the live. I actually haven't done I've done one face-to-face interview, but I wasn't living in the van at the time. But that's something I wouldn't mind playing with. Like, there's room for it, and it would be so much fun. Totally. And I save so much money by living in the van that I've got a bit more, you know, wiggle room to try some things and maybe pay for a few things like Riverside. And I have satellite internet, which is fairly expensive, but it allows me to do this. It keeps me connected. Like, mobile phone reception in Australia is pretty sketchy and I need good internet. So that's something I do. So yeah, I agree with that. You just go, do I really need this? Or am I just trying to keep up with the Joneses?
Exactly.
Trying to be slick.
Exactly. And and I think there's a lot to be said from when somebody gets to know you as a business, whatever your business is, they're going to look past the fact that your website's undone or that you just have a Facebook page or that you can only contact me by phone. Like, there's no other way. Like, you have to call me. You can't text me because my phone is old. I still have a Nokia. I don't know. Like, whatever. Like, there's just a lot to be said. And I think the last lesson I would say that I've learned is that I'm still learning it, is like, it's going to take time. Time.
That's a big one.
Time is like, as much as like you want things to happen fast when you're starting a new business and maybe you left your full-time job and this is you're all in and you're going to see, like, it's going to take time. And there's a lot of lessons and a lot of steps, I think, and decisions you should make before you leave something that's maybe sustaining your life. Just because I'm still working at my full-time job doesn't mean that I'm failing. And I'm saying that out loud because I would think that way a few years ago, being like, why can't I just have this to work? Why doesn't this work? Why doesn't anybody know me? Why aren't people finding me? Like, why doesn't anyone want to come to Italy with me? Like, why? Why? But I was grateful that I still had my full-time job, right? So but I would always think to myself, I'd come home, I'd be working on my website and doing all things. I'm like, and I would just like, think to myself, like, well, no, I feel like I'm failing because I'm not doing what I set out to do. Because there's something in society, or maybe it's just in me, that if I decide to do something, not necessarily that I need to have it happen immediately, but I would like it to slowly start to conform and like develop and like bloom into something where I'm successful, right? And I haven't had that yet. Like I've done so many events with I've joined my local chamber of commerce, which they do a lot of events for small businesses and stuff. But I haven't gotten really anything out of that. So that's like another thing I'm like rethinking, like, is that something I really want to do? No, because I'm putting a lot of time and energy into certain events and certain things where I'm not gaining any new clients, any new interest in my business. So I feel like I'm failing, because nothing's happening. Nothing, there's no change in money. Like I'm not getting any richer. I'm not getting any more income that, I'm getting income now just because I'm planning, I have 2 retreats coming up. But after those 2 retreats, I'm wondering like how much I'm going to have left. Like how much am I going to gain from these things? I'm hoping I'm going to gain some marketing. Like I'm hoping I'm going to gain like people that say, hey, I went on this retreat with Katie and like I want to go again. Let's go again next year. She's going to Florence. I don't know. Like I think the time thing is hard, and then realizing the fact that I'm not failing. It's just taking time, and then knowing that in each experience, even if I only have 4 people in September, because right now I would like to have 6, but I only have 4. I have 4. I just need to stop saying only.
Exactly.
I have 4,
yeah.
Which is very good. That those 4 people that are coming on, and the 6 people that are coming on in May, like those people are my marketing team.
Yes.
So like
yes.
I need to be like so excited and so happy to be with them. As much as it's like, it's so hard to be on for 5 days in a row, 6 days in a row. But like, it is like, my mindset is going to be like, okay, I'm going to not just like, I have to make them happy, but I'm going to show them the most amazing places in this part of Tuscany. And they're going to enjoy it. And I know I'm going to deliver because I know these places and I know they're going to be happy. If they're not going to be happy, I have no control over that. Like that's another thing, to not feel like I need to control their happiness, to control like the experience for them. Because I've had this happen all the time, and I'm sure you've had this, or you've known people that have like had the culture shock of like coming into a country where nothing is of like your home. There's nothing that's there. Everyone's speaking a different language. You're in a foreign country. You don't feel comfortable. You don't feel safe. You feel, you're an outcast. You feel like out of place. And that is triggering for a lot of people. Like, especially if you go into one of those tiny, those hotel rooms in Italy where they have the tiny, tiny showers, like, but that's like what it is. Like, and that's what's funny about Italy, because it's like, yes, there are tall Italians, but majority of Italians are small. But like, isn't it funny that the showers are so small? Like, there's literally, even if, no offense, but like, if you are overweight, like, it's going to be funny taking a shower. Like, you're in Italy. I mean, not like they're like extremely tiny. I'm not going to scare everybody, but like, if you're from America, they're a lot smaller than an American shower.
Yeah.
But like making humor out of it and appreciating the fact that like, hey, there's a bidet in your bathroom. I know you have no idea what to do with it. Neither did I when I first moved here. But I'll explain the history of it because it's really kind of cool. Like, I mean, only in Italy and France. I don't know if Germany has them. I'm not sure. But they have bidets in all their bathrooms. It's rare not to see a house without a bidet in a bathroom.
Yeah, I think that's such amazing advice for people who are looking to start a business. Just, yeah. Go back and rewind that, people. Take notes. I think that's valuable. There's a question I like to ask all my guests. So can you tell me, what does freedom mean to you?
Freedom means being and doing exactly what your intuition guides you to do. Being in your body and being aware that you are on the right path. That is freedom.
Yeah. I'm impressed how succinctly you conveyed that.
I know, and I've had such trouble time with words today. Like, I think my brain is still like calibrating back from speaking in Italian for 2 weeks. So like, I'm just like trying to figure out what I want to say because it's hard.
That was powerful. So powerful. Thank you. But Katie, thank you so much. I have learnt a lot through this conversation, and I know that listeners have too.
It's been very therapeutic.
Oh, good. Yeah, likewise. This is why I do what I do. Yeah. You've spoken about. I'm trying to just go back to the beginning of our conversation. We've spoken about so much.
A lot.
But, we've spoken about going against the norm and where that started and always feeling a bit on the outside and belonging, which is so important. And, how Brene Brown talks about that is amazing. I'll put a link in the description to some of her stuff. I'm a huge fan. Belonging is huge. And it sounds like you really found that in Italy. You're in the US at the moment, but you've found a way to balance that, and you've built a business around that so you can have some joy. And, steadiness is your word for this year, which I think is amazing. It's just such a beautiful concept, I think. And I'm someone who needs to learn to slow down and just go, it's not going to happen overnight. You're not a failure. Just little step forward means I'm moving closer to the life I want. Who knows if I'm going to get there, but I'm getting closer.
No, for sure. Yeah, I think that was a beautiful summary, and that made me feel a lot better because, as you said, like, you started a business. I was like, in my mind, I'm like, but I'm failing. Like, that's what I said. I know, because like it's such a trigger because like I try to say like so much about like I'm in a bit. I started a business. I have a business, but because it hasn't created money, and this is another, I guess, a good lesson for everybody out there, that doesn't mean it's not a business. Like,
right. Absolutely. And tell the Barrys out there to shut the fuck up, Fuck
off, Barrys.
It's there, but just shut up, thank you. Yeah.
Fuck off, Barrys. Get out of here. Yeah.
Oh. Katie, thank you so much.
You, Rosie.
I know your business is going to continue to grow because you just give so much value and it's so unique. I'll put your contact details in the description so people can reach out. There's so many people in Australia who want to travel, so you might end up with a bunch of Aussies. At least I hope so.
I want the accents.
Yeah. We're a unique bunch.
And maybe someday I'll be there and we can play with koalas together.
Oh, thank you, Katie. We'll talk soon. Right. If this episode resonated with you at all, could I please ask that you share it with a friend who you think could get value from it? And whilst you're doing that, make sure you follow and subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss another episode. And whilst you're following or subscribing, please leave us a rating, preferably 5 stars, and also a written review. Doing each of these things is going to help this podcast reach more people and impact more lives, which is, at the end of the day, is what we're here to do. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Remember, you matter, you're worth it, and you are so, so capable. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next week.